Hey everyone, this is Mike, and I'm going to be wireframing an iteration of our open project dialog for the desktop client. So we're working on a project to think through how to open up projects in the desktop when you are working with cloud spaces. And later on, we'll also be thinking about how to handle projects in other services that we connect to, like Google Drive and Confluence. But for now, what we're doing is looking at the flow of this wireframe. So this is the first set of wireframes we had for this this client dialog. It's really like the welcome window you would see when you open up Balsamiq. And we have we had a demo. Let me just show you what we did in the demo. So our developers Marco and Paolo are working on the Mac client, and these are the visual designs that I did for the demo. And we have a sort of title barless dialog or window that opens to let you select Balsamiq Cloud and then log in, and then this is our authentication using email or Google as your login. And then from there, you open up, the screen changes to show your spaces. You can select the space, the project, and then open it. But we're going to step back and wireframe a phased approach. The first thing I'm going to be wireframing now is what it looks like when you are working with projects in cloud only. And then phase 2 is when you're working with local files additionally. And phase 3 is when you're dealing with cloud. And then the services like Google Drive, Confluence, Jira. So that'll be the last set of wireframes that I'll do. So this will be sort of like showing the stages of evolution as we implement each phase. So to get started, we're going to go step through what the cloud-only version looks like. This is a little bit of flow that shows when you're launching the client, we will open up a window. We will look to see if you're logged in. And if you're logged in, then we'll show you this open project dialog here. And then if you're not logged in, then we will present you with this login form. So I had a note here also that open recent is missing here. So open project, open recent will be like that. And then, okay, so then there's a list of the recent projects should appear there. And this will be just a list. Okay, so I'm just going to try to make something resembling the recents from below in the open recent flyout. I'm going to just do this real quick. Okay, so I put the project name in the front here. I guess it would be ideal if we could have 2 lines, but I'm not certain that is going to work out in the list menu. So I'm just going to do it this way for the moment. Open from menu, from project menu. All right, I spent a minute just getting rid of old notes and putting them into the wireframes because I had a lot of miscellaneous notes from reviews. So this shows the different the different ways we're getting to opening the window. And now we have the login window here, and the recents are here. And then let's see, we need to add some notes about Error state's probably here. Not going to spend too much time on that for the moment, but I'm going to focus on now these next phases here. So once you have selected a project, I need to let's see, get an arrow here. You need to open a project in the client. Change this to one of these is going to be open, and one of these is going to be done. So if you have selected a project, I like these buttons better. So here it is close. Here it is, this should be new project. Okay, so that's disabled. Okay, this should be done. And this should just be open editor. So you can either double click or select project name and use open button. So if you select open, this opens the editor. It's my note here. And then the thing that's missing here is that the space icon opens the space in the browser. Okay, so I added a couple notes here for what should happen if you are using that icon. And then I'm just going to do this, you know, that there was a thought that maybe it'd be faster that if we didn't do recents right away, which makes sense. So I'm going to do a version of this where we don't show recents. Okay, so open project. So this should labeling should be all right. So this will be the phase 1 version of the cloud client. Okay, so the last part of this is to just do the open the new project window, which starts from the same menus. So we'll do new project here and grab a just press the wrong keyboard shortcut. So new project will open all right, so new project should open the same dialog. Okay, so new, so logged in, no. And then logged in, if it's the answer is no, then we will show login screen and return to this yes section here. I'm just going to copy these guys here. I don't need these. That. Then we show the login, the new project window where you select a project, select a space to save the project. And then the difference here is that your list should just be spaces. So and then if you are, if you opened up new project and you actually meant to open a project, then this goes back up to this flow. We should number these. That's how I would do that possibly. But it makes it easier to not have these arrows everywhere. But so this is going to say create project. Okay, so that should do it for now. I now have the screens to log in, to select a project and open it, to show recents in the right after this is first phase, and then a new project window to select a space to save a new project. And I think that is all we need for the moment for this wireframe, and then I'll come back and work on phase 2, which is the same window with cloud and your local files. And that should do it for now. Thanks for watching.